A to Z Mysteries, Book Number 18, The Runaway Racehorse, by Roy. Chapter 1. Josh picked up a French fry, dipped it in ketchup, and drew his initials on his plate. When he ate the French fry, a glob of ketchup plopped onto his shirt. "Rats, this is my favorite t-shirt," Josh said. Dink put down his book and grinned at his freckle-faced, red-headed friend. "Was your favorite shirt," he said. Josh, Dink, and Ruth Rose were taking a train to Larchmont, New York to visit their friend Forrest Stevens. Forrest and Dink's Uncle Warden had bought a racehorse together. The kids were invited to watch the racehorse, Whirlaway, run in a race in Saratoga Springs. Josh picked up a napkin and wiped at the red stain. He only made it worse. "Josh is finger painting," Ruth Rose said to Dink. "Someday I'll be a famous ketchup artist," Josh said. He gazed out the window. "When do we get there?" "In a few minutes," Ruth Rose said, checking her train schedule. "I can't wait to see Whirlaway," Dink said. "I've never met a real racehorse before. All I can think about is horses. That's why I'm reading this." He held up his book. It was The Black Stallion by Walter Farley. The cover showed a beautiful black horse with wild eyes and a flowing mane. Dink Duncan's real first name was Donald, and his middle name was David. But when he first started to talk and tried to say Donald David Duncan, it came out as Dink. Dink had been his nickname ever since. "Look what I brought," Ruth Rose said, pulling a book from her backpack. The cover showed a girl on a horse. The book's title was Learning to Ride. "Josh, did you bring a horse book?" Dink asked. Josh grinned. "Nope. I figured you guys will tell me anything I need to know." He dropped a few sugar cubes into his backpack. "Still hungry?" Dink teased. "They're for Whirlaway," Josh said. Just then the conductor walked through the dining car. "Larchmont is next," he told the kids. "Oh, wait," Ruth Rose said, digging in her backpack. She brought out her new camera. Ruth Rose liked to dress all in one color. Today everything was white, from her headband down to her sneakers. Even her camera was white. "Would you please take our picture?" she asked the conductor. "My pleasure," said the man. He took the camera and focused it on the kids. "Say cheese!" "Cheese!" they all said. The conductor handed Ruth Rose her camera. "Have a great day," he said. The train slowed, then stopped. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose grabbed their backpacks and walked to the end of the car. The conductor lowered a set of stairs, and the kids climbed down to the platform. Dink heard someone call his name. He saw his Uncle Warden and Forrest Stevens walking toward them. Dink's uncle was short and round and wore glasses. Forrest Stevens had a trimmed brown beard and wore jeans and a t-shirt. "Why, it's Wink, Gosh, and Tooth Toes," Forrest said. The kids had met Forrest when his painting had gotten stolen from Uncle Warden's apartment. "Hi, Mr. Stevens," they all said. "Please call me Forrest, okay?" he asked. Dink hugged his uncle. "How was the train ride?" Uncle Warden asked. "Great," Josh said. "The hamburgers were awesome." Forrest led them to a black car and opened a rear door. The kids piled in with their backpacks. Uncle Warden sat next to Forrest up front. Forrest started the car and pulled out of the parking lot. "How many horses do you have?" Josh asked. "Just Whirlaway," Forrest said. "Do you ride him in races?" Ruth Rose asked. Forrest laughed. "No, I'm too heavy. Professional jockeys are small and light. I hired a woman named Sunny to be Whirlaway's jockey." "Awesome," Josh said. "I've never met a girl jockey before." Then he added, "I've never met a boy jockey either." Forrest slowed down near a group of small shops and flipped on his turn signal. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose recognized the long tree-lined driveway. They had been here once before with Dink's uncle. A minute later, Forrest stopped at his garage. At the end of a stone path stood a large brick house. Out back, a stone barn nestled between a tennis court and a swimming pool. "Here we are," Forrest said. The kids climbed out of the back seat with their backpacks. "When can we meet Whirlaway?" Josh asked, looking toward the barn. "Right now," Forrest said. Uncle Warden headed to the house, while the kids followed Forrest toward the barn. Josh dug in his pocket and pulled out a sugar cube. "I brought this for Whirlaway," he said. "That was a nice idea, Josh," Forrest said. "But Whirlaway doesn't like sugar. He's the only horse I've seen who doesn't." Josh stuck the cube back in his pocket as the kids entered the cool, dim barn. Dink took a deep breath. "It smells nice in here," he said. "I agree," Forrest said. He also took a deep breath. "There's nothing like the sweet smell of hay and horse." "Don't forget chocolate," Josh added. They all laughed as Forrest led the way to a stall near the barn's rear doors. The doors were open and sunlight poured in. Out back was a truck parked on a wide area of gravel. The stall door was also open, but there was no horse inside. "That's funny," Forrest said, closing the stall door. He thought for a moment, then smiled. "I'll bet Sonny took Whirlaway out for exercise," he said. "They should be back soon. Let's go get you guys settled in the house." He led Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose back outside and into the house. They passed through a small room with boots on the floor and jackets hanging on pegs. "This is the mud room," Forrest said, untying and kicking off his boots. He took the kids through another door into the kitchen. The room was yellow with blue tiles on the counter and floor. Forrest pointed to a low bench. "You can leave your backpacks there for now," he said. The kids stood their packs on the bench. Dink glanced at a newspaper clipping, stuck to the refrigerator door with a magnet. There was a picture of a dark horse with a diamond-shaped blaze on his forehead. The headline read, "Local Horse Beats All." "Is that Whirlaway?" Dink asked. "That's him," Forrest said. "He's real pretty," Ruth Rose said. "He's even prettier in person," Forrest said, opening the fridge. "You kids like fruit?" "We like everything," Josh said. Forrest set grapes and strawberries on the table. The kids sat down and began to snack. Suddenly, the door burst open. A small woman in jeans, riding boots, and a flannel shirt rushed into the kitchen. "Hi, Sonny," Forrest said. "Say hello to Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose. They're here to watch you and Whirlaway race tomorrow." "He's gone," Sonny said, trying to catch her breath. "Who's gone?" "Whirlaway," she said. "I just got here to take him out. When I looked in his stall, it was empty." Chapter 2. Forrest looked up in surprise. Then suddenly his face relaxed. "Don't worry, I'll bet Whirlaway went to visit his mother again," Forrest said. "I'll call Mr. Bunks." "Who's Mr. Bunks?" Ruth Rose asked. "Tinker Bunks owns the ranch next to my property," Forrest said. "He tried to raise horses for racing. He never had much luck, so he sold off his stock. That's how Warden and I got Whirlaway. Mr. Bunks kept Whirlaway's mother, a nice old mare named Biscuit." "How does Whirlaway visit his mother?" Dink asked. Sonny frowned. "The rascal gets out of his stall and cuts through the woods," she said. "I wonder when he got out this time," Forrest said. "He was here this morning when Warden got here. We went in and visited him." "So he could have been gone all day," Sonny said. Forrest nodded slowly. "Yes, it's possible, Sonny, but let's not worry. Last time he ran away, I found him safe and sound, munching hay with his mother." Forrest reached for the phone and dialed. He listened, then hung up. Mr. Bunks's line is busy, he said. He looked at the kids. If you're finished, why don't we jump in my truck and take a ride over there? I'll throw down some fresh straw in Whirlaway's stall, Sunny said. She headed out the door toward the barn. Forrest put the fruit back in the fridge, and the kids followed him out the kitchen door. He led them to the gravel parking area behind the barn. Forrest's pickup truck was filled with bales of hay. Who wants to ride in the back with the hay? Forrest asked. I do, Josh said. I will too, Ruth Rose said. Otherwise, Josh will be scared. Just make sure you hang on, Forrest said. We're taking the old logging road through the woods, and it's pretty bumpy. Ruth Rose and Josh scrambled into the truck's bed and sat on hay bales. Dink climbed into the cab next to Forrest. Forrest started the truck and drove into the trees. Dink bounced in his seat as the tires rolled over bumps in the road. Low branches brushed the top of the cab. Dink turned around to look through the rear window. Josh and Ruth Rose were laughing and holding on to the sides of the truck. A few minutes later, they came out of the woods. Up ahead, Dink saw a barn and a house. Forrest pulled into the driveway and stopped behind another truck. A dog was tied to a nearby tree. He leaped up and started barking. Calm down, Buster, Forrest said out his window. Be a good dog. A man came from behind the barn. He was wearing a work shirt, jeans, and a leather belt with a big silver buckle. Muddy rubber boots came up nearly to his knees. Lie down, Buster, the man said. Buster stopped barking and flopped down on the ground. Afternoon, Tinker, Forrest said. Tinker Bunks walked over and leaned on the door. He had a thin face, sharp blue eyes, and thick brows. Good day to you, Forrest, he said. That horse I sold you still running like the wind? Forrest nodded and smiled. He's won every race so far, he said. Winning is good, Mr. Bunk said. He looked off into the distance for a few seconds. But I'm glad the racing business is behind me now. A lot of work, horses. He peered into the cab. So what brings you here today? I'm afraid Whirlaway has disappeared again, Forrest told Mr. Bunks. Any chance he's come to visit his mother? Mr. Bunks arched his eyebrows. Not so far as I know, he said, glancing toward the barn. Let's go have a look. The kids followed Mr. Bunks and Forrest into a large barn. As they entered, Dink heard a horse whinny. We hear you, Biscuit, Mr. Bunks said. The barn was cool and dim. Dust hung in the air where sunlight came through high windows. A loft held rows of hay bales. The floor was swept clean. Dink peeked into several stalls. Each was clean and empty. Mr. Bunks stopped at a stall with its top door open. A pale brown horse with dark eyes stood there waiting. She had a small white mark on her forehead. This is Whirlaway's mom, Forrest told the kids. He patted Biscuit on her nose. Have you seen your son today, old girl? Mr. Bunks asked his horse. As if she understood, Biscuit shook her large head from side to side. I thought for sure he'd be here, Forrest said. He peered into a few of the empty stalls. I'm afraid I've wasted your time, Forrest told Mr. Bunks. Come on, kids, it's time to call the police.